Hi, boys and girls. This week is Fire Prevention Week. And so that means that we're doing a lot of reading and thinking about firefighters and all of the ways that we can be safe from fires. So I started a book with you on Zoom on Monday called A Day in the Life of a Firefighter. We didn't finish it though, so here you're going to listen to this story again. And as you listen to it, your job is to pay close attention to the details that tell what a firefighter does throughout their day. So notice where they sleep, notice where they eat, notice what they do if there's a fire. Okay, and afterwards you can draw to show what you learned and you can tell about your drawing. Okay, so this is called A Day in the Life of a Firefighter. Anytime that we read nonfiction, we need to pay close attention to the photographs and to the words because they'll teach us true facts. Okay, so let's see what a firefighter does all day long. How do firefighters begin their work days? All right, so that's a big question. Now we're going to find out the answer. How does their day start? Let's listen. Firefighters go to the fire station to start their shifts. Firefighter Mark works from 7 o'clock in the morning one day until 7 o'clock in the morning the next day. When Mark arrives at work, he finds his boots and gloves. He checks his air tank to be sure it is full. He must be ready in case there's a fire. Okay, so as the reader, I'm thinking about this big question. How do firefighters begin their work days? So I'm thinking about what I just heard. Oh yeah, the photograph reminds me that firefighter Mark gets his boots and he checks his air tank too to make sure it's filled with air. Okay, let's keep reading. And you notice what firefighters do throughout their day. What happens if there is a fire? Okay, so there's a big question. Let's listen and find out. People call 911 to report a fire. A dispatcher answers the call and tells the firefighters where to go. The alarm sounds at the station. Mark and the firefighters rush to put on their gear. They drive fire trucks to the fire. So as the reader, I'm thinking about this. What happens when there's a fire? I'm thinking, you think for a minute too. Are you remembering? Oh yeah, the dispatcher will call and tell the firefighters where to go, and then they rush to put on all their gear. So here's a photo to show us all the gear that firefighter Mark has to put on. All right, let's keep seeing what happens during his day. Are there ever false alarms? Oh, that's interesting. Let's find out. Alarms sometimes go off when there's not a fire. Still, people and firefighters must treat every alarm as if it is a real fire. Firefighters check the building to make sure it is safe. Today, Mark's crew spends an hour checking the building. Mark's crew did not find a firefighter or a fire. So sometimes there isn't a fire, even though an alarm goes off. Maybe it's got set off by accident. All right, let's see what else Mark does when he's working throughout the day. Look at the photographs and notice where he is. Can you tell what he's doing? I bet you're noticing a stove and some pots. It looks like he's wearing an apron. Notice here. Looks like he's serving people. I bet you have an idea about what he's doing. Let's read and find out. Where do firefighters eat? Firefighters usually eat at the fire station. Oh, you just learned something. Tell your brain, where do they eat? It's Mark's turn to cook lunch. He makes pasta and bread in the fire station's kitchen. Oh, tell your brain what he was doing. Where do they eat? What was Mark doing here? Tell yourself or tell Mrs. Clark. Pretend I can hear you. Hey, well, look at this photograph. Oh, I think I have an idea just from the photograph about what this section will be about. I notice a bed, I notice a pillow, and I notice Mark's eyes are closed. That gives me a clue about what this part is about. Remember that as we're reading, our job is to pay attention to what firefighter Mark does all day long. So let's read and find out what this section's about. Where do firefighters sleep? Many fire stations have rooms called dorms where firefighters can sleep. After a short nap, Mark and his crew will train together. They practice rescues and they learn how to work safely. Firefighters stay busy even when there are no fires. So tell yourself, where does he sleep? Does he go home at nighttime to sleep? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Do a signal. No, he doesn't go home. He stays there, huh? And here's a photograph of the dorm or the room that he might sleep in. What do firefighters do when they're not on a fire call? Sometimes when a firefighter is working, there's no fire. So let's read to find out, what do they do when there's no fire? I notice firefighter Mark here. Please look at the photographs and notice him. Notice the people that are listening. Does that give you an idea? The photographs will give you an idea about what's going on. Let's read to find out. Firefighters teach fire safety. Mark shows these children how a fire truck works. He tells them what to do if there's a fire. Firefighters also go to other emergencies. They give first aid and they help police. So there were 3 different things that we just heard they might do if there's no fire. Tell your brain one of them. Maybe you're thinking about the children. Maybe you're thinking about an emergency or who they might help. There's lots of different things firefighters do throughout their day. Remember, that's what we're paying attention to as we listen to this nonfiction text. How do firefighters put out fires? Oh my, that's an important thing. Boys and girls, take a moment and look carefully at this photograph. It's almost like a big hose, doesn't it? Notice this over here, but you have an idea about what's happening. Let's read. Firefighters use special equipment to put out fires. Mark and the driver hook up the hose together. Tell yourself what they're doing. What are they doing? Tell yourself. You're right, they're hooking up the hose. Mark wears a mask and air tank to protect him from smoke. His clothes protect him from heat and spraying water. So now I know that this is an air tank so that he can breathe fresh air. What happens after a fire is out? Firefighters have work to do after a fire is out. Oh, I bet you're interested in what is he doing? I think you probably have an idea from the photograph. Tell someone, what does it look like he's doing? Or tell your brain. Okay, let's read and find out. Mark cleans the fire truck. When his shift is over, Mark will go home. Another firefighter will come to work. Firefighters are always on duty. So what was he doing here? After that fire was out, what did it say? Think. Oh, yeah. He's cleaning that fire truck. All right, boys and girls, take a minute now to look at this interesting photo. This photo has some labels. The labels tell us about these different parts of a fire truck. So what we can do, it's just like what you do in Writer's Workshop. You can look at the label to see what each important piece of equipment is for. This says equipment photo diagram. So here, do you see this line here? It says crew cab. Right here, this special part on the fire truck carries firefighters to the fire. If you look really closely, sometimes when you're driving down the road, you might see a crew cab. And if you look, there might be a firefighter sitting in there. This says hoses. So I'm noticing where those hoses were. We saw a photo of Mark hooking up the hose, didn't we? This says cab. The cab holds the driver. I bet you could see someone driving in a cab down the road. Sometime you'll notice that. This says doors. Boys and girls, if you look carefully, you'll see there's more than one door on a fire truck. This says helmet. Here's the firefighter's helmet. Air tank. Here's his air tank. This says ladder. Sometimes they have to get to really high places, huh? Here are their boots and their gloves. And then this label says Dalmatians. Sometimes firefighters will have a dog that helps too. And this one is called a Dalmatian. All right, boys and girls, your job as you listen to this nonfiction text was to learn about what a firefighter does all day long. So I'm going to show you the photographs again, and I want you to remind your brain about what you learned in each photograph. What was Mark doing at his job all day long? And then you can draw to show what was most interesting to you or to show what you learned. And you can take a little photo or a video to show Mrs. Clark what you learned about this from this story, okay? Maybe you're thinking about what Mark has to do when he gets to the fire station first thing. You might be thinking about putting these away, or I remember there was something he had to do with his air tank to make sure it was ready in case there was a firefighter. Maybe you're thinking about what Mark does if there's an alarm. Remember that he had to rush to get some things on. Oh, maybe you're thinking about how sometimes there's a false alarm. And do you remember he was checking to see if that building was safe? Maybe you're thinking about where a firefighter eats and something else that Mark does when he's at his job. I bet you remember. Maybe you're thinking about where a firefighter sleeps when he's at his job. Or what a firefighter does when they're not on a fire call. The photograph should be reminding you of these key details. Maybe you're thinking about how a firefighter puts out fires and something that he has to do, or maybe something he has to wear when he's fighting a fire. I bet you can remember what he does after the fire is over. This photograph will remind you about that. Or maybe you're really thinking about the fire truck and all of the different important pieces of equipment that are used. All right, boys and girls, your job is to draw or write to show what you learned about what a firefighter does. I can't wait to see all of the things that you learned, and I can't wait to see you tell about what you learned. So you could do a photograph or a video to share your thinking. Okay, bye.